Inside ADX Florence, the daily routines no one believes are real. If you think you're ready for stories like this, hit subscribe before we dive deeper. You won't believe what comes next. The desert morning was cold enough to sting the lungs, but the air inside the perimeter of ADX Florence felt even colder. It wasn't the temperature. It was the weight. The kind of silence that sits on your shoulders when you're standing near a place built to hold the men the world fears the most. The prison rose from the Colorado landscape like a concrete fortress with no visible windows, its walls swallowing sunlight and secrets all at once. At 5:42 a.m., a set of security gates opened for the convoy racing down the access road. 2 black SUVs, 1 armored van, and a swarm of patrol units moved in tight formation, dust spiraling behind them. Something had happened, something serious. Officers were already waiting in tactical gear, boots planted, eyes locked forward. Nobody spoke. Nobody needed to. ADX Florence wasn't the kind of place where alarms rang without reason. Inside the lead SUV sat Special Agent Mara Kellerman, her jaw tight, hands gripped around a folder marked Sundown Incident, Internal. She'd been pulled out of bed at 3 a.m., given no details, only coordinates. But the second she saw ADX Florence on the dispatch screen, she felt a pulse of dread she couldn't explain. She knew this prison's reputation. She'd documented federal transfers here. She'd written reports on escape protocols. But she had never been asked to enter the facility for an emergency. The moment the convoy stopped, the warden, a tall, stone-faced man named Harris, stepped forward. His eyes told her everything she needed to know. Whatever happened wasn't routine. "Agent Kellerman," he said. "We have a situation." "What kind of situation?" she asked. Harris hesitated, and Mara felt the hairs rise on her neck. The warden of ADX Florence hesitating was not normal. This morning, at 4:13 a.m., during standard movement checks, one of our officers found inmate 2276D unresponsive. Unresponsive? You mean? Not deceased. Not harmed. His voice dropped lower. Just gone. Mara froze. Gone? That's impossible. Nobody disappears inside ADX. That's why you're here, Harris said. They walked through the entrance layers, 14 security barriers, each with its own protocols, each meant to make escape not only impossible, but unthinkable. Yet someone, somehow, had vanished from a single-occupancy cell that stayed locked 23 hours a day. Mara followed Harris into the control center. Screens covered the walls, each displaying different angles of the prison. Officers monitored every movement, every door, every hallway. But one screen showed only static, a camera outage in Sector D. "When did that go down?" Mara asked. 3 minutes before the inmate disappeared, Harris replied. That wasn't coincidence. And they both knew it. They moved toward the cell in question, descending deeper into the prison, where the air felt tighter and the walls seemed to press inward. The corridor was empty except for 2 correctional officers stationed at the far end, visibly tense. Mara stepped inside the cell. It was spotless. Bed made. Stainless steel sink untouched. Meals from the night before neatly stacked, untouched. Even the inmates' boots were aligned perfectly against the wall. The only thing missing was the inmate himself, Daniel Mercer, a former defense contractor serving life for national security violations. A man who'd made enemies in places most people never knew existed. Mara scanned the room. No sign of forced exit. No broken fixtures. No tunnel. She paused. He didn't walk out through the door. So how? "There's something else," Harris said quietly. "Look at the corner." She turned. A message scratched faintly into the concrete, barely visible unless the light hit just right. Sundown wasn't the end. "Check the ledger." Mara stepped back. "What ledger?" "We don't keep anything called that," Harris replied. "Nothing official. But someone wanted us to think you do." Mara's pulse quickened. This wasn't an escape. This was a signal. Before Harris could respond, one of the guards ran toward them, breathless. "Sir, you need to see this. We just found something in the service corridor behind D Block." Mara felt her stomach drop. "What is it?" she asked. The guard swallowed. A second message, and it's not from the inmate. The corridor lights flickered once, then steadied. But nothing inside ADX Florence ever flickered without meaning. What did it say? Mara asked. The guard's voice trembled. It said, "You're already too late." The message hung in Mara's mind like a cold echo as she stepped into the service corridor behind D Block. The concrete walls were narrower here, the lighting older, buzzing faintly with a flicker that felt intentional. The air smelled of metal and dust, the forgotten parts of a prison built to never forget anything. The guard pointed toward the wall, and there it was, a second message, this time written with something darker than concrete dust. Not blood, the color was too faint, too dry, but something meant to unsettle anyone who saw it. "You're already too late." Mara crouched, examining the uneven strokes. "This wasn't scratched," she murmured. "It was drawn. Applied." Someone wrote this deliberately. Harris crossed his arms, trying to hide his unease. "This corridor is only accessible by maintenance staff and upper-level security. It shouldn't be possible for any inmate to reach this area." "And yet," Mara replied, "standing, someone did. Or someone with access wanted the investigation to believe an inmate did." She turned toward the guard who'd discovered it. "Who opened this corridor last?" "Maintenance logs say no entry for 3 weeks," the guard answered. Mara's eyes narrowed. "Show me the logs." The guard pulled up a handheld tablet, scrolling through time-stamped entries. Everything looked straightforward, until Mara spotted it. "Stop. Go back 1 page." There it was. A single entry time-stamped 2:46 a.m., less than 2 hours before Mercer disappeared. "Access code 9157B. Mara read aloud. "Who does that belong to?" The guard didn't answer. He exchanged a look with Harris, a look Mara didn't miss. Harris sighed. "It's mine." Mara stared at him. "Your code was used to enter a restricted corridor during the exact window Mercer vanished. Either you were here, or someone cloned your access." Harris looked offended at first, then quietly shaken. "Agent Kellerman, I wasn't here. You can pull every camera from my house to the gate logs. I arrived after the emergency call." "Then we're dealing with someone inside the system," Mara said. "Someone who knows exactly how this place operates." She began walking deeper into the service area, studying each vent, each access panel, imagining how someone could move through the spine of a building designed to trap movement. ADX Florence wasn't just secure, it was engineered like a fortress of airlocks. Every door required confirmation. Every angle was monitored. Every hallway was built with sight lines to prevent ambush. Yet someone had found a way to manipulate it. At the end of the corridor was a maintenance hatch sealed with an electronic lock. Mara inspected it. No signs of tampering. No scratches. No forced entry. It was pristine. "Open it," she said. "It requires dual authorization," Harris explained. "Then authorize it." He and the guard entered their codes. The lock beeped twice, then clicked. Inside was a cramped tunnel lit by a single buzzing bulb. Mara stepped in. The air was cooler, the temperature regulated for electrical equipment lining the walls. A low hum filled the space, the sound of the facility's heartbeat. Halfway down the tunnel, she stopped. Another message. This time small. Cryptic. A symbol, a circle with a vertical line through it, etched near the baseboard. Mara froze. She had seen this symbol before. Not in official case files. Not in federal systems. But in a classified briefing she wasn't supposed to have kept in her memory. Harris noticed her expression shift. "You recognize it. It's used by a network we suspected of infiltrating federal infrastructure decades ago," Mara said. "Never confirmed. Never proven. But they were known for targeting places like this. Places that store dangerous secrets." Harris looked troubled. What would they want with Mercer? Mara exhaled slowly. Mercer knew things. Not just classified specifications. He worked on a project that never saw daylight, something internal, something sealed even from congressional oversight. What kind of project? She looked at him. Something called Sundown. Harris flinched. But that was only speculation. Rumors whispered by contractors. Nobody ever found evidence it existed. Mara tapped the tunnel wall where the symbol Saturday. Maybe we were never supposed to. Before Harris could reply, another guard approached from behind, pale and shaking. Agent Kellerman, he said quietly. You need to come to the central monitoring station. We just got a file upload. A file upload, she repeated. From where? He swallowed hard. We don't know, but it came through an internal channel. And it's addressed to you. Mara's pulse quickened. What's in the file? The guard hesitated. It's a video. Of who? The guard lowered his voice. Daniel Mercer. Recorded after his disappearance. The corridor grew colder. Harris looked at her, terrified for the first time all morning. Mara stepped closer. Where is the video now? In your secure terminal, the guard said. And Agent Kellerman, you're not going to like what he says at the end. She tightened her grip on the folder under her arm. What does he say? The guard exhaled shakily. He says, I didn't escape. I was released. The video room inside ADX Florence was small, windowless, and unnervingly quiet, a place built for classified material, not for mysteries that threaten the integrity of the most secure prison in America. Mara stood before the encrypted terminal, palms flat on the metal table, steadying her breath. Harris hovered behind her, hands clasped, as if bracing for something neither of them was prepared to see. Play it, Mara said. The screen flickered, then stabilized. Daniel Mercer appeared, sitting upright in what looked like a dim, concrete room. Not his ADX cell. Not any room she recognized. His clothes were clean, unwrinkled, almost staged. A single overhead bulb cast a pale circle of light around him. His posture was calm. Too calm. Mara Kellerman, he began, speaking directly into the camera. If you're watching this, then the plan moved forward without interruption. Mara stiffened. Pause. Harris leaned in. He knew you'd be assigned? No, Mara said quietly. He predicted it. She hit play again. By now, you've found the messages, Mercer continued. The ledger. The symbol. You've discovered that escape was never the objective. It was the test. A cold pressure formed in Mara's chest. Test for what? Harris whispered. Mercer kept speaking, his voice eerily composed. The sundown protocol wasn't about containment. It was about observation. Monitoring patterns of loyalty. Recording who inside the federal system could be trusted and who couldn't. Mara exchanged a tense look with Harris. Mercer leaned forward slightly, his expression tightening. You weren't supposed to know about sundown. None of you were. But you stepped into the middle of it the moment the camera in D block went dark. Mara froze. Rewind that, she murmured. The moment the camera went dark. She realized what he was implying. The camera didn't fail. Someone shut it off. She replayed the clip. Mercer continued. You think I disappeared, but the truth is simpler. I was moved. Extracted. Not by outsiders. Not by inmates. By the same people who built this place, molded it, and shaped its routines to hide the cracks beneath the surface. Harris clenched his jaw. This is manipulation, he muttered. It has to be. But Mara wasn't sure. The video glitched for a moment, a faint distortion, almost like interference. Then Mercer's face reappeared, slightly closer to the lens. Mara, he said softly, almost empathetically, you were never called here to find me. You were called here to expose them. Expose who? She whispered at the screen. Mercer answered as if he could hear her. They call themselves the Ledger Committee. They don't run prisons. They run information. They decide who vanishes and who resurfaces. They decide which files exist and which ones don't. Your arrival today wasn't an accident. You were the last uncontaminated link. Harris stepped back. This is impossible. A committee inside the Bureau? Inside federal oversight? We would have known. Would you? Mara replied. The video shifted again. Mercer's features grew sharper under the flickering bulb. If you want the truth, Mara, he said, you'll need to follow the trail they left. Not the one you think I left. The screen suddenly cut to black. A soft click echoed in the room, the audio track restarting itself. But instead of Mercer's voice, a new sound emerged. Footsteps. A door opening. Then a voice, unfamiliar, distorted, but chillingly calm. Agent Kellerman. Step away from the terminal. Mara froze. Harris turned toward the door. Two men in dark suits stood in the doorway, badges displayed, but with insignias Mara didn't recognize. Their faces were expressionless, their presence heavy. Not prison security. Not FBI. Something else. Who are you? Mara demanded. The taller one answered. We're here for the Mercer file. It's evidence, Mara replied. It stays here. You misunderstood, the man said. It's not evidence. It's classified material. Mara's instincts screamed danger. Under whose authority? Yours, the man replied calmly. You signed the clearance 2 years ago during your Sundown evaluation. Mara blinked. I was never part of Sundown. You were, he said. You just didn't know. Harris stepped between them. You can't seize federal evidence without. Warden, the other man interrupted. You no longer have jurisdiction. Before anyone could move, the screen flickered back on, not video, but a single line of text. Trust no badge without a name. Mara acted instantly. She grabbed the terminal drive, yanked it free, and backed toward the rear exit. The suited men stepped forward, but Harris blocked them long enough for Mara to slip out the secondary door. Alarms didn't trigger. Lights didn't flash. Because whoever these men were, they didn't need alarms. They controlled something bigger, the silence. Mara raced down the corridor, heart pounding, gripping the stolen drive. She didn't know where Mercer was. She didn't know who the Ledger Committee truly were. She didn't know why she had been chosen. But she knew one thing. Someone had reopened an operation buried years ago, and she was now the only person standing between the truth and the people trying to erase it. At the end of the hallway, another message had been scratched into the wall. Fresh. This isn't the end. It's the opening move. Mara stared at it, the weight of everything finally settling. If this story got out, careers would fall. Agencies would fracture. Truth would surface in ways the public wasn't ready for. She tightened her grip on the drive, walked toward the exit, and whispered, If you think this was intense, you're not ready for what comes next. Then she stepped into the morning light and vanished from every camera inside ADX Florence.